The Chameleon's Guise. An Introduction to Deception, Damien Wolfe. The name itself was a careful construction. A whisper in the opulent halls he frequented, his true talent was transformation. He was not born into the world of privilege. He meticulously crafted every aspect of it. Each gesture, each intonation was rehearsed, perfected. He was an artist of illusion, a sculptor of false realities. His medium was human desire. His canvas, the lives of the unsuspecting wealthy. He moved among them, unseen for who he truly was, a ghost in expensive attire. His current persona breathed authenticity. Lord Ashworth, he might call himself this month, a man of distinguished lineage. Old money flowed through his supposed veins. His suits were bespoke, tailored to an image of understated elegance. His accent, a finely tuned instrument, cultivated over years of listening, observing, mimicking. He absorbed the nuances of the elite, their casual arrogance, their bored sophistication. He became them, so completely he sometimes forgot the boy he once was. A boy with nothing but ambition. The tools of his clandestine trade were varied and always disposable. Documents, expertly forged, proclaimed his noble birth, his vast imaginary estates. Art, borrowed from shadowy sources, adorned temporary residences. Mansions, rented for brief, dazzling periods, set the stage. He cultivated a network of discreet suppliers, individuals who asked no questions, who understood the value of silence. Everything was transient, designed for impact, and then to vanish without a trace, leaving only memories and lighter bank accounts. His motivations were complex. Money was a necessity, of course. It fueled the charade. It bought the props for his next performance. But it was more than that. It was the thrill of the game, the intellectual chess match, the sheer audacity of it all, the power he wielded through deception. He lived for the art of the con. Each successful manipulation was a masterpiece, a testament to his skill. He saw himself as a conductor, orchestrating emotions, directing desires, a dangerous symphony. An evening of illusions, the first encounter. The setting was a charity gala, a cathedral of wealth. Chandeliers dripped crystals like frozen tears of opulence. The air itself seemed to shimmer, thick with the scent of expensive perfume and the metallic tang of ambition. Damien Wolfe, in his guise as Lord Ashworth, surveyed the room, his eyes calm and assessing. He was a predator in a glittering jungle, searching for his next mark. He moved with an easy grace, blending seamlessly, part of the expensive wallpaper, yet entirely distinct. Eleanor Davenport. Her name had appeared in his research. Heiress to a formidable shipping fortune, recently bereaved, lonely perhaps, vulnerable most definitely. She stood apart from the boisterous crowds, a quiet elegance about her, an air of melancholy, the perfect target. He observed her for a long moment, noted the way she held her glass, the subtle sadness in her eyes. He catalogued her details, stored them away for future use. He felt no pity, only professional interest. The approach was a classic, a carefully orchestrated accident. He allowed a waiter to jostle him, just slightly. His champagne arced, a delicate splash on Eleanor's gown. An immediate charming apology flowed from his lips, his eyes wide with feigned concern. Sincere, his voice a gentle melody, tuned to soothe, to disarm. He offered his handkerchief, insisted on paying for the cleaning. He was all contrition, all gentlemanly concern. The first thread of connection, spun with practiced ease. The first impression had to be flawless. He spoke of art, of distant, sun-drenched travels. He avoided any mention of business or money. He listened more than he spoke, asking gentle questions, drawing her out, showing genuine interest in her quiet passions. Eleanor, starved for real conversation, found herself intrigued, relaxed. He was not like the others, the grasping, eager men. He was different, or so she believed. The hook was set gently, almost imperceptibly. She smiled. The mark is set, weaving the web. The very next morning, a rare orchid arrived at Eleanor's penthouse, a single perfect bloom, its beauty almost unearthly. Accompanying it was a handwritten note, penned on thick, creamy card. The ink, a deep, traditional blue, it spoke of regret for the previous evening's mishap and a hope for a future, less clumsy encounter, old-world charm, exquisitely rendered, calculated to the smallest detail, effective. Eleanor read the note, a faint blush touched her cheeks. She found herself anticipating his call. Their subsequent meetings were masterpieces of understated romance. Dinners in exclusive hidden restaurants, places where privacy was paramount. Strolls through moonlit gardens. He spoke in hushed conversations, sharing vulnerabilities, carefully constructed fragments of a fabricated past. Tales of lost love, of artistic struggles, designed to elicit sympathy, to build a bridge of false intimacy. He made her feel seen, understood, cherished. Each word was a carefully placed stone, paving the way to her trust. Damien never pushed. He never seemed eager. He allowed Eleanor to set the pace, to believe she was in control of their burgeoning relationship. He was the epitome of patience, a predator moving in exquisite, slow motion. He understood the art of waiting, the power of restraint. He made her feel as if she were pursuing him, a subtle yet potent reversal of roles. He was always just slightly out of reach, a prize to be won. This restraint made him all the more desirable. Slowly, inevitably, Eleanor began to trust him deeply. She started to confide in him, sharing her fears, her dreams, her loneliness. He became her sanctuary, her confidant, her perfect gentleman. He listened with unwavering attention, offered gentle, wise counsel. He was everything she had ever wished for in a partner. The trap, lined with velvet and scented with roses, was slowly, inexorably closing. She felt safe. She felt adored. She felt completely, utterly deceived. A tapestry of lies, the many faces of Damien. Beyond the refined veneer of Lord Ashworth, other lives pulsed. Other cities held his secrets. In Berlin, he was a maverick tech entrepreneur, sharp, innovative, dressed in minimalist black, speaking of disruption and digital futures. In Florence, he transformed into a reclusive artist, brooding, passionate, his hands supposedly stained with paint and genius. Each identity was a complete immersion. A separate universe of carefully researched details, accents mastered, histories memorized, wardrobes meticulously curated. The strain of maintaining this intricate tapestry was immense. It demanded constant vigilance, a mind like a steel trap, remembering which name belonged to which face, which fabricated memory was shared with whom. The preferences in wine, the feigned allergies, the invented childhood traumas, one slip, one careless word, and the entire edifice, built on years of deception, could crumble into dust. Yet he thrived on this pressure. It was a high-wire act, performed without a net. The risk was part of the allure. His true sanctuary was a small Spartan apartment tucked away in an anonymous building in a forgotten part of the city. Here the true Damien existed, stripped of all pretense, surrounded by the tools of his real trade. Books on psychology, files on potential targets, disguises in various stages of creation, schematics of lives that were not and never could be his own. The contrast with his opulent public personas was stark, deliberate. This was his command center, his place of cold calculation. The cost of this life was profound. No real connections could ever be forged, no lasting peace could ever be found, only the fleeting, hollow triumph of a successful con, a temporary surge of power, followed by an inevitable emptiness. He was a solitary figure, moving through a world of his own making, touching lives but never truly connecting. Each victory was another brick in the wall around his heart, a hollow echo in the gilded cage he had built for himself. It was addictive, a cycle he couldn't or wouldn't break. Section 5. Whispers in the shadows, the first hint of danger. One grey afternoon, a plain envelope appeared, slipped under the door of his Spartan, hidden apartment. Not Lord Ashworth's luxurious rented suite, but his real anonymous hideaway, the place no one should know. A cold dread, sharp and unwelcome, pierced through Damien's composure. Inside, a single sheet of paper, typed, stark, 4 words that froze his blood. I know who you are. No signature, no demand, just the chilling statement, leaving him to imagine the worst. Panic flared, a raw primal instinct. He suppressed it ruthlessly. His mind, usually so clear, so analytical, raced. Who could it be? How had they found this place? He meticulously reviewed every recent interaction, every alias, every carefully laid plan. Had he made a mistake, grown careless? No obvious errors sprang to mind. This was different. This felt calculated, not a random discovery. Someone was deliberately targeting him, not his persona, him, the real Damien. The threat felt intensely personal, more than just the risk of exposure, which was bad enough. It hinted at something deeper, something more sinister, a vendetta perhaps. A ghost from a past con? The anonymity of the message was its most terrifying aspect. It gave him no clues, no direction for his counter-moves. He felt a prickle of profound unease, a sensation he had not experienced in years. The hunter was suddenly aware of unseen eyes, watching. He found himself scanning faces in crowds with a new intensity, listening to overheard conversations with a desperate hope for a clue. The city, once his playground, now felt alien. Hostile, every shadow seemed to lengthen, every casual glance felt like scrutiny. He was accustomed to being the observer, the one in control. Now the tables had turned, or so it seemed. The hunter felt the unwelcome sensation of being hunted, and he did not like it at all. Section 6, the unraveling thread, balancing acts and growing fear. Damien increased his already meticulous caution. He continued his engagements with Eleanor Davenport. His smile remained perfect and his charm undiminished, yet his eyes held a new, furtive alertness. They darted to every shadow, every reflection in a shop window, every face that lingered too long. Eleanor, lost in the glow of her supposed romance, noticed nothing amiss. She saw only the attentive gaze of Lord Ashworth, the man she was falling in love with. Her perception was his shield. He dedicated precious hours to tracing the origin of the note, a futile endeavour. No fingerprints, the paper was common stock, and the ink from a widely available cartridge. It was untraceable, professional. This lack of clues worried him more than a direct confrontation might have. It spoke of a patient, intelligent adversary, someone who understood the game, someone who was not easily intimidated or found. He felt a growing sense of being outmaneuvered, a deeply unsettling feeling. Then another message arrived, delivered with the same chilling anonymity. This time it was a photograph, grainy, black and white, him, years younger, as a different persona, one he had buried deep in his past. Mr. Jonathan Finch, the caption read, a con from a decade ago, a ghost resurrected. The chill in his veins intensified. This was not random. This was targeted. Someone knew his history, his secrets. The carefully constructed walls around his past were crumbling. He had to maintain the Eleanor deception. Her trust was at its peak. The final stage of that particular con was tantalizingly close. A significant sum was almost within his grasp, but this new unseen threat jeopardized everything. It divided his attention, frayed his nerves. He was walking a tightrope, pulled in two directions. The pressure was immense. Time, he sensed, was rapidly running out. He needed to identify his tormentor, and fast, before his entire world imploded. Section 7, the hunter becomes the hunted, introducing Isabel's pursuit. Isabel Carter. Damien did not know her name, not yet, but she knew his, all of his names, the real one and the many false ones he wore like costumes. She had been watching him for a very long time, years in fact, patiently, methodically. She was a spectre in his periphery, unseen, unsuspected. Gathering information, weaving her own intricate web, she had become his shadow, learning his ways, anticipating his moves, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Her motive was singular, powerful, all-consuming revenge. Her father, Arthur Tremaine, had been one of Damien's earlier victims, ruined by a charming, sophisticated con man. A man who promised partnership and delivered devastation. That was years ago, a lifetime for Isabel. But the memory of her father's broken spirit, his financial ruin, his premature death, it had never faded. It had fueled her, driven her, transformed her into an instrument of retribution. Justice, she called it. Isabel was meticulous, obsessive even. She had learned his methods by studying his aftermath. She researched con artistry, understood the psychology. She pieced together his patterns from the wreckage he left behind. She became a hunter, as skilled, as patient, as ruthless as he was. She was using his own tactics against him, the subtle hints, the psychological pressure, the slow erosion of his confidence. She knew how to dismantle a man like Damien Wolfe from the inside out. The anonymous notes, the unsettling photograph, these were not random acts of intimidation. They were carefully chosen arrows, each one designed to pierce his armor of arrogance, to unsettle his carefully balanced composure, to make him paranoid, to make him look over his shoulder, and ultimately to lead him, step by calculated step, into the trap she had so painstakingly prepared. She was not interested in exposing him to the authorities. Her justice was far more personal. Section 8. A calculated gambit. The unveiling. Isabel arranged a meeting through a carefully chosen intermediary. An anonymous email, promising information about the person who was tormenting him. Damien, desperate for answers, eager to regain control, agreed. He stipulated a public place, a busy cafe, midday. He thought he was setting the terms. He thought he was still in command of the situation. He arrived early, surveyed the exits, the crowd, confident he could handle whatever came his way. He was wrong, fatally so. He scanned the cafe, looking for someone nervous, someone out of place. He saw a woman sitting alone by the window, unremarkable at first glance, plain clothes, reading a book. Then she looked up, directly at him. Their eyes met across the crowded room. A flicker of something unreadable in her gaze. Not fear, not deference, something else, something knowing. He felt a sudden, inexplicable chill. He did not recognize her, but he sensed this was it. She rose, calmly, composed. She walked towards him, no hesitation. She stopped at his table. "Mr. Wolfe," she said. Her voice was quiet even, but it cut through the cafe's cheerful hum. She used his real name, the one he had buried deepest, the one that connected him to a past he had tried to erase. His blood ran cold, his carefully constructed composure threatened to shatter. This was no ordinary encounter. This was something far more dangerous. "Or perhaps," she continued, her lips curving into a slight knowing smile, "you prefer Mr. Alistair Finch or Monsieur Jean-Luc Dubois? Or maybe Lord Ashworth, your current favourite?" She listed them one by one, each alias a perfectly aimed dart, stripping away his layers of deception. He felt naked, exposed. The confidence drained out of him, replaced by a dawning, sickening realization. He had not found his tormentor. His tormentor had found him. He was caught utterly. Section 9. The Closing Net Reckoning and Ruin. Isabel laid out her evidence, not in a courtroom, not to the police, but there on the small cafe table, between their untouched coffees. Photographs, bank statements, sworn affidavits from other victims, proof of his cons. Years of them, meticulously compiled, irrefutable. She had him, completely and utterly. He stared at the damning pile of paper. His mind, usually so quick, so agile, was blank. He saw no escape route, no clever lie, no charming deflection that could save him now. "My father," Isabel stated, her voice still quiet but now laced with a steely edge, "was Arthur Tremaine." The name struck Damien like a physical blow, a distant memory, a forgotten face from a long-ago scheme, a successful con at the time. He remembered the man's trusting eyes, the subsequent ruin he had wrought. He had never given Arthur Tremaine a second thought, until now. Now, that ghost had returned, embodied in the determined woman sitting opposite him. His past had a face, and it was relentless. The game was over. He knew it. His carefully constructed world, his multiple identities, his illusion of control, all shattered, reduced to a pile of incriminating documents on a cafe table. No charm could save him now, no carefully crafted apology, no desperate plea, only the stark, unavoidable reality of his actions. His life of lies had finally, irrevocably, caught up with him. He looked at Isabel, truly looked at her, and saw not a mark, but a judge, a jury, an executioner. Isabel Carter didn't want his money. He sensed that immediately. She had resources of her own, clearly. She wanted something far more profound. Justice, perhaps, in its purest, most personal form. Or maybe simply to see him break. To witness the perfect gentleman, the master manipulator finally undone, stripped bare. The net she had woven so patiently, so skillfully had closed, tight. There was no way out, only the chilling certainty of her victory and his complete, devastating defeat.